Hey group, it's Pitt, and I'm back with another MBTI. Today we're going to be looking at Mrs. Taylor Swift from her interview with an In Conversation with TIFF 2022. We are looking for examples in the way that she thinks to identify things in the way that we think. And we do that using this chart. You've never seen MBTI done quite the way that I do it. I have changed some of the definitions and the way that it works. So we ask these 5 questions to fill in these boxes. This is about patterns of behavior. It is about the things that you focus on and you communicate about. We are looking for examples in other people so that we can improve our own lives by identifying in them things about us. With that being said, we are going to be looking for either things or ideas. Are you focused on the things that you can physically put your hands on, the things that have actually happened from now into the past, or is it about the ideas and the concepts behind that from now into the future? Are you looking for the new ones or the old ones? Is it all about, hey, look at all of these, or is it about, hey, look at this one? Do you do that for yourself or the tribe? Self does not mean selfish. It means that you use it first and then you give it away. Tribe means that you give it away and then you get it. Rigid and flexible is it my way or the highway? Or is it, let's see what we can accommodate about these other people? Direct and informative. Are you telling the whole story, giving the whole answer and stopping? Or do you give the whole answer 2 or 3 times and chase a couple rabbit holes along the way? Now we're going to look at the interview, and we're going to be looking for these 5 questions. Let's dig in and see what's up.
In the 70s, I heard that you also like John Cassavetes.
Yes.
We're a few minutes into the interview so that she gets in, gets comfortable. This is not antagonistic. She seems to be quite comfortable. This one has a live audience. Normally I don't do that, but the interviews are kind of hard to run across.
Yes.
Also big heartbreak, big emotion.
Yeah, and I just think I just really love how he allows despair and human emotion to just play out.
Yeah.
It just is allowed to breathe.
Despair and human
play
emotion
itself
are
out.
ideas.
You see the loose ends,
Yes.
right? It's not tied up.
You feel like you're really in that house with that
Yeah.
fight going on, and it's just harrowing.
Yes. Well, the fight that you crafted here also feels that way, and I love how the music stops and you really begin to see their relationship kind of disintegrate.
Yeah.
And then come back together a little bit, but it feels like it draws on some of that same kind of spirit from those 70s movies.
It's such a nice thing for you to say to me. I think you can tell a lot about people based on how they fight or argue.
That's an interesting box.
And I think with this film, I went into it having scripted out a few different scenes and knowing that I wanted to show one of them in depth and at length. And when it came time to shoot, we filmed them breaking up. We filmed them falling in love, some of the dialogue with that. But I kind of, as we got closer to it, I was like, it's going to be the fight. I think that we had scripted it out, but I had talked to Dylan and Sadie so much about what their intentions were and what exactly it is.
So far, we've got a couple of ideas and the one supporting thing, right? So she has a couple of ideas, divorce, getting together, the parts of the marriage, and the one supporting thing is that we're going to focus on this one thing, right? That's 3 ideas, one thing.
That's the catalyst for this fight.
Also, she's saying a lot of we's, right? When she's talking about what's going on, she said, I talked to the director and we are going to. That's more of a tribe focus than a self focus.
And why it's not about him just dropping her hand. It's about this entire just molecular structure where she feels out of place and he feels unequipped to handle that. And it all comes back to...
That's, again, ideas.
Being in different places in their lives, having this huge gap of age difference between them. She's still got one foot in girlhood, one foot in this very adult world. His life is very cultivated.
That is a lot of ideas, right? There's a lot of ideas into this one thing.
Felt like we had talked so much about it that I was dealing with such...
Again, with the we, like I'm dealing with, but it's the kickback to the tribe, right? It's not about her per se, even though the whole interview is about her. She kicked it back to the tribe. We're going to look for more examples of that before we settle into tribe, but that seems to be the direction.
Emotionally intelligent actors, and we talked so much about this, that when we
Again with the idea.
actually shot, it ended up being, like, I think probably 92% of that scene is a oneer.
Really?
Yeah, we don't cut till the very end until he says, "Why don't look at me like that?"
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
first time we cut. And we were just, my producer Saul and I were just at the monitors, just like there was like a death clutch as we're watching this, because we're like, oh my God, like we're injuring each other's arms at this point, like, but also trying not to make a sound, because we're just so in awe of how much we could trust these actors with every single bit of the scene, the story, the way.
Okay. The how much we could trust the actors is, again, some tribe kickback, right? That's kicking back to the tribe about the tribe. So we're getting a fairly good tribe vibe on this. She seems to be about the ideas with the things supporting it, right? She has a couple of ideas, not a singular idea. That seems to be more ideas and more new as opposed to old. Right? So if you're looking for the new ideas, you're sorting through the one experience. If you're looking for the new experiences, you're sorting through the one idea. And so it appears to be that she is looking for all the ideas and then sorting that into the one experience.
Wait.
She seems to be fairly flexible too, right? Like, we're going to look for some specific examples of flexible versus rigidity, right? She's bringing these ideas up. She knows that she has one that she wants to focus on. She's not sure what it is. She's probably going to get some feedback from other people to determine that. Right? The farther along we got, the more it seemed like it was going to be the one.
So much is in the writing, I think.
She also seems to be a little bit informative, right? She's given the whole answer. There are rabbit holes, not necessarily extensive. She's doing pretty well with it, but we're going to look for some more confirmations there too.
As well, your writing, because
Aww.
you really, I'm serious.
Thanks.
You know, for me, when I was watching, I've seen this short film many times now, and what I really got from it is that she does not feel seen.
Yes.
In that relationship, and she's trying to tell him about an instance where she did not feel seen in the company of his friends, and he's not really getting it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's such a powerful moment because they're so intimate and yet so far apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really amazing takeaway, because I've always been very fascinated, and one of the reasons I wanted to make a short film and not a music video for this song is because I've been fascinated with the dynamic of the age of the character that Sadie's playing, and what a precarious age that is when you are, you could fit back at your family home, sort of, but you sort of don't. You could fit in an adult's cultivated apartment where they have like a French press and they have all the things that adults have, but you kind of don't. So you kind of fit everywhere, but you kind of fit nowhere. And I think that plays into a little bit of where she's coming from. And I have to credit Dylan too with the fact that I know that he's gaslighting her, and I know that he's like, I know it's problematic, but I'm watching that and I'm like, he is so charismatic. He is charismatic, problematic, and I am still sort of rooting for them to work through this, because he makes some charming points.
Yeah.
And he does it in a really, really, like, I don't know, just the way that they both played it, I was just blown away.
It's beautiful.
Okay, so that again is some tribe feedback. It appears to be about the ideas, right? You have the one instance, but it's about the ideas on top of that. The way that the guy plays it is the ideas. The overall storyline is about the ideas. It is an experience. There is a whole short film about this, right? But it's not about the film as much as it is about the actors in the film, the way that they act and portray the ideas. So it seems to be, again, gather the ideas into the experience. We're not getting a whole lot of rigid flexible here. There's not a whole lot of figure that out yet. She seems to be fairly flexible, but there's not a whole lot of accommodation of other people's ideas, right? This was her idea. She's the artist. I get that. But it seems like I'm looking specifically for that, right? She seems Not necessarily overly informative, but more leaning on that side. We're going to look for more confirmations of that too. The ideas seem pretty solid. The new ideas seems pretty solid. And the tribe seems pretty solid. So we're looking for rigid and flexible, and we're looking for direct and informative more than anything at this moment.
So I'm sure so many people relate to it as well, because charismatic, problematic, definition of a boyfriend, maybe?
An ex-boyfriend.
Okay, an ex-boyfriend.
Not necessarily the best defense or the best experience, right? Maybe even a little bit of defensiveness over the best experience, or worst.
I don't know how far we want to go with that, but...
Zero.
Zero, that's
Nowhere.
You mentioned
Let's leave that alone.
music videos, and I do want
Got some control.
to go back. So, because before you directed this film, you began to have increasing visual input into the making of your music videos. And I want to ask about that process, how you were drawn to getting into the creativity of the music videos as opposed to just being on camera. The collaborators, you've worked with a couple of directors quite a lot. Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious to know what that process was like for you to get more and more creative input and control ultimately into your videos.
Yeah, it was a baby steps process. It wasn't like I woke up one day and I was like, you know what I want to do? Direct. Like it just that was never something that I was programmed.
That's flexibility, right? She's not one in control of that situation.
To say to myself, because I didn't go to film school.
You use the whole stack, right? You can be control in certain instances and flexible in others. It's about the overall pattern and the overall how you do it, right? It's all about, she has the one example of control, but she has a couple of examples of flexibility already. So I'm leaning more towards flexible.
I've been on the set of 60 plus music videos, and I've learned a lot from that process because I've always got my eyes and ears open, and I'm always looking at shots and thinking, I like that one, I don't like that, why and why not?
That can be some SI defensiveness, right? Why is this one experience giving me good or giving me bad?
I like that lighting, I don't like that lighting, why and why not? And so you kind of are learning based on your experience, but I had a really, really close creative relationship with Joseph Kahn, who's just like a legend in music videos. He did Toxic by Britney Spears, which is like, just to like give you an example of what we're dealing with. And we made several music videos, and we got to the point where I'd call him up and I'd be like, okay, wrote this song called Look What You Made Me Do. I want to come out of the ground as a zombie, right? We're seeing my hand out of the ground, and then I'm dead, and then I'm in a bathtub of diamonds, and then there's a mountain of me's trying to kill the current me, and he'd be on the phone and be like, yeah, I know exactly what we're doing. Okay, amazing. And so like having that relationship where like essentially it got to the point where I was sort of starting to write the treatments to the videos. And
okay, so that is taking some control, but not necessarily being overbearing in it, right? She's bouncing this back to the tribe. She's calling the director and giving him the idea and getting the feedback off of it. That's a little bit of flexibility too, right? She's in control of this. She could very well just be like, hammer down, this is what's going to happen, and she's the one controlling the purse strings. But that's not what's happening. She is being somewhat flexible around the idea there. So again, we got another flex. She seems to be a little bit on the informative side. Again, she's not chasing rabbit holes forever, but there are examples in the explanation. We're going to look for some more confirmations before we do the type.
I then decided it might be really cool to co-direct and to step into that role. And so, I got to co-direct a few videos with incredible collaborators, and I learned what it was like to start, writing in-depth treatments and shot listing and really leaning into it. But when I did it on my own, that was when I really learned everything.
Yeah. Because you have to, I guess.
You have to, and it was so surprising to me because I didn't really want to turn back after that. I just had so much fun. The first video I directed on my own was a video called The Man. And it's
Incredible
weird
video. I haven't
because
seen it.
I'm prosthetically turned into a dude for the whole video. So this was the first video I ever directed on my own. So if you can imagine me trying to direct child actors, while I'm dressed prosthetically as a man, I've got like prosthetic, like rubber, whatever they put on you, on my face, and I'm trying to like talk to little kids about what their action is. And they know something's not quite right, and their mom told them that this is Taylor Swift, but they don't really understand how that could be possible.
That's flexibility too, right? Trying to understand the thoughts of the tribe is flexing around the thoughts of the tribe. Instead of trying to bulldoze through, you're flexing around. That's pretty good. She seems to be fairly direct or fairly informative, right? The answers are longer than absolutely necessary. She is giving examples. There are a couple of instances of repeating the same information. It's not an overbearing, like 15-minute long explanations, but it is longer than absolutely necessary. Direct people like to cut it off as short as they can. And it's a repeated pattern of giving just a little bit more than is absolutely required. Leans me towards the informative. So we're going to go ahead, kick it around. We're going to look at the typology before we look for some confirmations on the back side of that. She seems to be ideas, right? We've got a whole lot of examples of ideas. We've got a few examples of specific things. That gives me ideas, that gives me new. So we're going to be looking at ideas are on the right hand side of the screen, and new is going to be the third column coming down. She seems to be tribe focused. Most of what she is talking about has been kicking it back externally to the tribe. It could very well be about her. It doesn't have to be for her. And so that is going to lead more towards the tribe than self. She seems to be fairly flexible. She is accommodating other people's thoughts. She's not trying to steamroll over people. It's not my way or the highway. Seems to be fairly flexible. And okay, so that's going to lead us into our typology. What we seem to be looking at here is the ENFP. The last slide, right? The last question that we asked is direct or informative, and that comes into play right here. The first two slots are how you receive the information, what you feel responsible for, right? The next slot is how you give the information back. Are you giving all the information freely and without reservation, maybe chasing a rabbit hole or two? Then you're informative, and that means that you have an extroverted third slot. If you are holding the information back and only given this amount, then you probably have an introverted third part of the stack. For her, she seems to be more extroverted than introverted on this. She is giving the whole answer. She is giving an example or two and a little bit extra information. And so that's going to be an ENFP on the left-hand side of the screen. What is an ENFP and what are they focused on? An ENFP is going to see without even thinking about it and know without even thinking about it what all the ideas are, right? They're going to have plenty of examples of high-level examples of specific ideas without any underlying details, right? It's not about this is the one idea. It's about these are the ideas in general. She's going to feel responsible for how she feels about that, the morals that she has about that. Now, your morals are based off of your tribe. Your tribe's ethics are where you derive your morals from. Your morals are how you think the best way to go forward spiritually or along those natures. And so it's not necessarily what other people think or other people's morals. It is your personal decision on morals. And so she feels responsible for conveying her morals to the tribe about these ideas. The several examples already so far about the music videos are conveying that, right? She is very much about these high-level ideas and where she stands on them, right? The whole thing we just saw where she was talking about the male actor in the video and how he was sucking her in, but she knew, right? That was her. She was taking in his ideas, but she knew where her moral stance was on that. The third I is where you see forward, right? It is how you see your future unfolding. And so for her, that is going to be the TE. That means that she is going to take in and get defensive over what other people think, right? If she has decided that all of these ideas mean that these people are thinking this thing, then she is going to stand on that thing, whether or not it is correct. She feels like it's correct. That is all that it's going to take to push back. The throat is the reason why she gets defensive over that, is because she's missing some of the organizational details. She's got an organizational system. She has the way that she does things, but it's not necessarily the best way to do things. It's not the best experience or the worst experience, but you think it is, right? SI is all about the best and the worst experience, the specific examples of things. She is bringing these specific examples of things in support of her ideas, but it's not like fully fleshed out. It's not about things that have actually even happened necessarily in real life. It's about the experiences that she is getting and the morals that she is getting from these movies or this other music. The heart is what you really want to do with your life more than anything. And for her, that is narrowing it down to the best idea. She sees all of these ideas, and if she can narrow it down into the best idea, then she's going to feel really fulfilled. She's doing that, right? When she makes the music video and she takes all of these ideas and narrows it down into the one, that is that. She's going to do that best if she is feeding through her solar plexus, her heart. And the solar plexus is where you really get your spiritual nourishment. And for her, that is the tribe's ethics. Now, the tribe is not necessarily everyone. The tribe is who you have decided is important. It can be your family. It doesn't necessarily have to be. It can be your workmates. It doesn't necessarily have to be. It almost certainly includes your friends. It's the people that you have chosen to be important in your life. And their values are the ethics of the tribe. You derive your morals from the ethics of your tribe, no matter where it is in the stack. And so, if she can actually understand the ethics of the situation and narrow that down into the one idea, she's going to feel more fulfilled than anything. She does that through her music. The sacral is the part that you're going to intentionally choose the wrong thing, right? Nobody ever says, I want to do the wrong thing, but people do it all the time. And it's generally because of these last two stacks. The top and the bottom get a lot of information. The top gets a lot of really good information. The bottom gets a lot of really bad information. And if you don't know how to filter that, you can get overwhelmed by that. The middle is heavily filtered, so you don't get a lot of information in the middle. You have to be very intentional about feeding that information into it. When you're making the wrong choice here, for her, that is going to be about her logic. That means that she's probably not getting the full scope of things, right? For playing into the bass. She is not getting the full scope of these things that have actually happened, that are currently happening. Not necessarily the best and the worst, but these other things. She has a tendency to overlook those. And so the logic is not based in the actual things that are actually happening, but instead is based in this one specific experience that you don't really understand. And so strengthening your logic choices here, the yes, no questions. Should I do this? Is it a good idea? Will other people think about it? Take the time to actually ask these questions. Take the time to actually think about them and make sure that you're making the correct logical choices. That's going to give you a whole lot of flexibility in your life. And finally, we get to the base. The base is the part that you just get wrong. It's not intentional. You're not even really choosing this. You just get a lot of really bad information here. And for her, that is the actual things that have happened. She is going to have a tendency to isolate herself from experiences. She's going to have a tendency to choose the wrong experiences. She's going to have a tendency to misremember the ones that have actually happened. SE is about giving the experience. SI is about receiving the experience. So she's going to be more inclined to do the things that make her feel good in the situation as opposed to other people feel good in the situation. If any of this sounds like you, if these ways of thinking sounds like something that you identify with, then the ENFP video is for you. I have a whole system called the Infinite Integrations playlist that will bring you through prayer, fasting, and meditation and how to strengthen this stack so that you can make the changes in your life that you want to make. I'm not here to change your life. I have no reason or no inclination and no right or responsibility to do so. I'm merely here to give a toolbox to help people find things that they don't like in their own lives, that they can change about their own lives and the way that they want to change their lives. And so, if the prayer, fasting, and meditation is just a little bit too much for you, I have the MBTI parts playlist that is a little bit more on the scientific side, where I have tried to take MBTI and change it from subjective to a more objective system. A lot of this is based off of me making decisions about somebody that I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor. It's not a medical diagnosis. It's a framework to help you identify traits in yourself that you want to change about yourself. Now we're going to look for some confirmations. We're going to go through some more of the video, and we're going to see if we can get specific examples of her confirming the stack. Is she doing the NE? Is she seeing all of these ideas? We've had several instances of that being confirmed already. Is she making the decisions and being responsible for her morals in the situation? Again, we have had several examples of that. I'm looking for confirmation. It's going to be pretty easy on this one. Is she defensive over what other people think? Is she missing and misunderstanding and misrepresenting the SI, the things that have actually happened? Is she missing the new experiences altogether? And is she making poor logical consistency choices? The heart and the solar plexus are a little harder to get confirmations on, but we have gotten confirmations on her, and we will be looking for some more of her making the best decisions and really feeling great about that, right? Really feeling like she's fulfilling her purpose in life. That comes from that hard slide. Let's dig in and see what else we can get from Mrs. Taylor Swift.
You have a beard and you have a bodysuit on.
It was honestly it was incredible. The experience was so wild and wonderful, and I got to work with the incredible Rodrigo Prieto as my DP, which I still can't believe that happened to me, because he's just so incredible. Yeah, and so that happened, and then the pandemic happened, and I ended up directing in the middle of the sourdough early phase of the pandemic, this video called Cardigan. And thanks. And then I did another one for a song called Willow, and that was when I thought, I feel like I could do more. I feel like I'm ready for more. And so that was when I decided
that could be considered gathering an idea. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but
to make the short film for All Too Well.
You also draw from movies for some of the imagery in your films, and there's these great references.
Drawing from movies or video games or books as opposed to reality is absolutely going to be SE base. That's because it's not actually experiences, right? It is the ideas of experiences. These things never really happened in real life for the most part. There are true crime documentaries and things of that nature, but for the most part, these are just ideas. Someone had this idea and fleshed it out. And so it is more ideas as opposed to actual experiences. And if you're basing any of your actual decisions off of just someone's representation of an idea, you're kind of missing the point, right? That's a poor logical choice. It works for her. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means that you're not necessarily making the best decisions in that, right?
The man reminded me at the beginning, anyhow, Wolf of Wall Street.
Thank you.
There's
honestly,
such a vibe there
deeply on purpose.
Yeah, okay.
I love that film.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore that film so much. So it was kind of like an homage, you know?
Sure.
People, when you reference things, people don't know if you're trolling or if you're like, I love that film. I absolutely love that film.
And
I
then
really
the Bad Blood video is all futuristic action movie.
It's the espionage. That's a phone call with me and Joseph Kahn where I'm like, what if Selena kicks me out a window and tries to kill me, but I don't die, and then I go to spy school and they all teach me how to fight. And he's like, yeah, and there's explosions, and so that was a blast, and that was kind of like tipping our hat to the kind of spy thriller genre.
Yes. All right, so I want.
Okay, so again, this is taking in the tribe's thoughts, right? She is kicking this back to the tribe fairly consistently. We're not getting a whole lot of defensiveness in that spot, but that she's not getting a lot of pushback against it either.
I want to ask you.
But the kicking it back to the tribe, like she's seeing this idea and feeling responsible for bringing it forward. Now, most of the examples that we have seen, right, of her bringing these ideas have been moral decisions. That is being responsible for the morals. Now, you don't have to agree with the morals. Like, I'm never going to tell you this person's morals, right? That's a personal choice. And so she is bringing out the ideas that are about the moral choices. That is being responsible for ensuring that the tribe knows about these moral choices.
More about going from the videos that you directed to this one, the short film, because it feels like just in terms of your creative evolution, there's more ambition here, you're doing more with it, shooting on 35, longer format, there's a whole dramatic, intense scene there, which could have come out of Marriage Story, almost, you know.
I need some water.
No, but it has that
so
kind
cool
of
you to say that.
emotional intensity. It's raw, like that Noah Baumbach film is. So I want to ask about just putting that film together, particularly the technical side of it, deciding to shoot on 35 millimeter, deciding on the 1.33 aspect ratio, that kind of old vibe and the richness of those colors and the shallow focus, all of those things are decisions
Yes.
that you made, and I want to know what those decisions were toward. What was the impact you wanted from all of those things?
Well, all the decisions that you make, it's such a beautifully collaborative process. You
That's not tribe.
make decisions, based on
Other people's thoughts?
your idea as to how you want it to feel, how you want it to look, and then you bring on people you trust. Like, I trust Rena Yang, our DP, implicitly. I absolutely was so lucky to get to
And that's a moral decision too, right? I trust this person is deciding to trust their morals.
work with her, and brought her on early on and showed her my endless mood boards and my references and what I was looking for in terms of lighting and color and texture, and it was pretty
These specific things.
apparent that we both wanted to shoot on 35 millimeter. I did not know how to do that.
Sure. Yes.
I've never done it before.
People
so
mostly don't do that anymore.
yeah, and so she's excellent at it, and so she was the one who was like, I think we should shoot interiors on Vision 3 500T stock. I think we should shoot the exteriors on Ektachrome because I love the way that the greens are going to pop.
You know your film stocks, Taylor.
She taught me a lot.
Okay,
She
I'm
really,
impressed.
really, really taught me a lot, and I never would have known anything at all without her. So,
And that's taking in the tribe, right? That's not necessarily being defensive about the tribe, but it is just a little bit of being defensive for the tribe, right? Her thoughts on this influenced me greatly. Is a little bit of a confirmation there. It's not a really great one, but we've seen a good bit so far that already leans us towards that. Right? I'm going to give it just another couple of minutes. I don't like taking the whole interview because it's just not cool. I like to get the examples and get out. So we're going to give just a couple more minutes, look for a little bit more confirmation, and then we're going to let it go.
it was also kind of talking about making intentional, purposeful decisions about lighting, warm tones versus cool tones, and how we want her apartment to feel.
How we want.
Versus his world to feel. And we wanted them to feel very different. And we figured since we're dealing with
To feel very different, right? Being responsible for the feeling in the situation is definitely going to be an FI responsibility.
short film, we don't have a lot of time to say much about their identities. So we wanted to make technical, subtle decisions in terms of lighting and set design. We worked with the incredible Ethan Tobman. And one of my favorite references of set design is in The Way We Were. Barbara Streisand plays this character called Katie, and her apartment, when you look at her apartment, that's who she is. It's her interests, it's her politics, it's the books she reads, it's who she is.
Yeah.
And I wanted, Sadie plays a character named Her. I wanted her apartment to be her. I wanted it to look like who she is. And I wanted the same for his space.
That can be considered some tribe defensiveness or some thought defensiveness too, right? I want this to reflect her thoughts, and so she's feeling defensive over that, right? She's doing that through the morals, she's doing that through the ideas, with the actual physical experience, best worst. But it again is some responsibility or some feeling defensive over the tribe's thoughts. I don't want you to misunderstand who her is, right? That sounds so weird, but we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I feel like we have gotten some fairly good confirmations for the ENFP, even as opposed to the ENFP alternate, right? The only difference is how the third and the fourth slot work and the seventh and eighth slot work. And they just flip. So it seems like she is very much focused about these ideas, right? Let me get my pointer in the right direction. She seems to be very much focused about keeping all of these ideas on the table, right? Until it is time to make the final decision, and then she's kicking that decision more towards the tribe than herself. She is making the decision based on her morals. She is making the moral stance in her mind. We have seen several examples of that going forward. So I do feel like this is a fairly good fit. If you identify with this, check out the playlist that we have. This system is designed to help you figure out how you want to change you in the way that you want to change you. I'm not here to change you. I have zero right to even try. I want to give you a framework. I want to give you the ability to pick yourself up. If you see things in Taylor that you identify with, then these videos are probably for you. We can make the same decisions based off of this stack. We keep repeating patterns based off of this stack. And if you can get yourself aligned correctly with your stack, you will be a healthier human being. That's the goal of this. The more people that we can get to a healthy decision-making process, the better off we all are, in my estimation. Hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a somewhat difficult topic. I know I changed MBTI. If you were familiar with the old systems, you were like, what is this guy even talking about? I've changed things. It is not for arbitrary reasons. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And this has been Pitt's Take. Peace.